Able to seal him. Here's the pass. Oh, what a catch! Leaping into the air and pulling it down is T. Higgins. Burrow facing pressure. Goes over the top. Wide open is Chase. And he splits the defenders for the touchdown. The Cincinnati Kid. Hubbard's got a convoy. Chased by Andrews. At the 30, the 20, he will score!
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, let's get right into it. I know you're fired up. I know I'm fired up. I'm going to warn you guys now. This is going to be a fired up show. Please comment in the comment section. Again, Maan and I, our show is about being real. We're real Bengal fans. We've been Bengal fans, both of us, over 40 years. So we're here for you guys. Comment in the comment section. Let us know what you're feeling, Maan. Let's talk about this game, dude.
Yeah, it's not much to talk about. When Joe Burrow went out, it pretty much took the air out of the team. As Herbstreit said that, you could tell the energy was gone. They had a couple good drives after that, but you can just tell Jake Browning playing on Thursday Night Football in Baltimore against that defense. The deck goes against him there. The chances of him doing that slim. Bengals got a good roster, good team, and we can armchair quarterback this all we want. We talked about it during the draft and roster building time of the off season. AFC Championship games back to back. Played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You got a Super Bowl roster. National pundits saying the Bengals are going to win a Super Bowl. Collinsworth picking them to win the Super Bowl. Everybody's picking them to be an elite NFL team. If your elite quarterback gets hurt 3-4 games, we have a guy that's thrown one pass in the NFL. Hey man, I'll never root for a Bengal player to play bad, but I want Jake Browning to be a great NFL quarterback. But you don't have a Super Bowl roster team like the Cincinnati Bengals with a quarterback that's had one NFL pass. I'm sorry. I know they tried with Trevor Siemian. You have to insure yourself. You have to get insurance policies like us on houses and cars. When you have a Super Bowl roster, you have to get a player that's going to get you 2, 3, 4 games in case somebody gets hurt. We didn't do that.
I mean, Maya, I feel like you and I have talked about this for the last couple of years. Every year when the free agency comes around, when the draft comes around, I think I just brought this up a couple of weeks ago even. I feel like we always talk about this, and that is that Joe Burrow has never had a legitimate backup quarterback. I mean, like you said, how do you – and I don't want this to be – I'm not going to be just trying to beat down Jake Browning. I'm not – I like the guy. It's not his fault. But when you have a roster that you can take to the Super Bowl and you need a guy, like you said, that has to come in, maybe play 3 or 4 games and win you 3 out of 4 or something, I feel like we are one of the only teams in the NFL that has a quarterback that is inexperienced. And this is every year. I mean, this is not just this year. I mean, Brandon Allen was the exact same thing. We're dealing with the exact same situation where you have a guy coming in that it's so frustrating, Mon. It's so frustrating when you see these other NFL teams that can bring a guy in and the guy can play well enough for your team to win. I mean, let's be honest, we had no chance when Jake Browning came in. It was over. It was over. And the sad thing is, I'm sure the Raven fans, because they, to Raven fans, this is a huge win and they're going to hype it up and yada, yada, yada. But I think everyone watching that football game knows before Joe Burrow went out, the Bengals were cooking. And I'm not going to say we would have won the football game, but that football game would have been a lot different with Joe Burrow in there. And now, Mom, we have to look at the future, right? Because right now we're still in this thing. We're 5-5. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, one of those two teams is going to knock each other down a notch. Right now, we're 3 games out of first place, but we're still fighting for a wild card. I mean, we're right in the mix for this wild card race. Is it time to throw it in the towel? No, absolutely not. This season is still alive and well. But if Joe Burrow is not going to be able to play for 3 or 4 weeks, the Cincinnati Bengals better go out and find somebody that can, because it's not Jake Browning. And again, that's not a knock on Jake Browning, but he's not the guy.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the Bengals are going to win tonight with a healthy Joe Burrow, but I can guarantee you this: it was going to be a very competitive game, and I liked our chances a lot better with him. Obviously, sound like Captain Obvious here. Again, like I said, I want to be wrong. I'm being critical of Jake Browning. If he came in and led us to a victory, if he wins 2 the next 3 games, I'll gladly come on here and say I was wrong. We don't know the situation of Joe Burrow. We don't know if it's a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week injury. We don't know. I just want to ask our viewers this question. Hypothetically speaking, let's say he's out 4 games. Can we somehow get maybe 3 of those? Can we get 3 wins? I hope so. I hope we can get 4. But do you think we can do that right now with Jake Browning? I don't know. I have my doubts. When you are roster building and you have a team this good, you have to insure yourself for these 2-3 game potential, injuries by your star quarterback. Don't get me wrong. If something catastrophic happened to Joe, it's over. But, if you have twisted ankle, high ankle sprain, you have to miss 4 weeks. You have to bring in a guy that's a player that can salvage your season. Maybe Jake Browning's going to develop into one. But right now, giving him the keys, wish him the best. I'm a Bengal fan. I have my doubts.
Dustin, I'm gonna disagree with you, Dustin. The Ravens were not carving up the Bengals. The Ravens had a good drive to start off the game. That game was 10-7 with about 6 minutes left when Joe Burrow went down. The Ravens scored on a ridiculous tip pass. I mean, the luckiest play you've ever seen. They score again on 3 pass interference calls that were absolutely atrocious. So no, Dustin, they weren't carving. They weren't slicing up the defense. I thought the defense played very well up until that point. I do feel like this team, I was just going to say, I love this comment here by Garden Zone. How valuable is Hubbard, Mom? Because to me, he has losing him has been huge for this run defense, and we saw it again tonight. And the 4.8 yards per carry again came in the second half. Am I wrong about this, Mon? Did the Ravens feel like they were carving us up the first half?
No, in the first half, they weren't. I think it all changed after the injury. The thing, Dustin, we have to understand something. They got ahead. I think they were 11 points at halftime, and they just decided we're going to run. They went very run heavy in the second half. They're a good running team. And of course, hey, the Bengals got to stop them. We got to stop them. Yeah, they got 4.8 yards per carry. That's fine. Most of the majority came in the second half. The defense was playing well after that first drive. They came down and scored. They made them punt, I think, 3 straight times. I was a little frustrated with the offense. This is when Joe was still in there. They needed to capitalize on that, come down there and try to take a lead. They did. 10-7, injury happened. The whole mojo, the whole flow of the game just changed right there. So, the bottom line is it's a 14-point win for the Ravens. Bengal fans are going to have an asterisk next to it. It's a win for them. We have to find out what's going on with Joe. We need to find out how long he's going to be out. And it's on Coach Taylor, Jake Browning. He's going to be our quarterback. I'm going to root for him. I'm going to support him. I want him to make me look bad. And we got to get a couple wins because you know what? We just have to get into the playoffs. We have to find a way to get in the playoffs with a healthy Joe Burrow because we know he's playoff tested. We just got to find a way to get in the playoffs.
Now, I do agree with that, Justin. Dustin says the tackling was terrible. I agree with that 100%. I think the second half, the tackling, we saw the missed tackles like we saw against Houston. But again, I think a large part of that is you could just, when Burrow went down, you could see the air out of this Bengals team. The same thing you saw last week when Tyler Boyd dropped that touchdown. You being there in the stadium, on the air just went out of the stadium. And obviously the Texans went down in a minute, kicked the field goal. This team doesn't, they struggle sometimes when adversity hits. I think that's something that has been a reoccurring thing. But I want to ask you, because Vanguard talks about it's AJ's time to shine, Mon. If you're the Bengals, who do you go with? Let's say, God forbid, that Joe Burrow can't play next week. Are you going with AJ McCarron or Jake Browning? Let's not forget, you and I were there in 2015 when AJ McCarron almost got us that first playoff win since '91 against the Steelers. And he played well in that second half of that game. AJ McCarron, a guy that's gotten a lot of reps. Mon, who do you go with? If you make that call right now, who are you going with? AJ McCarron against the Steelers, or are you going with Jake Browning?
If I had to say so, I would go with AJ McCarron.
Yeah.
But I know what's going to happen. It's going to be Jake Browning. Jake Browning's been on the active roster. McCarron just got here, second week of the season or 1 week before, right around that time. AJ McCarron's been in the Bengals system for 3+ years. He is going to be the player until Joe comes back, and I'm hoping Joe comes back this year. I think he will. Not that I have any inside knowledge. I just don't think this is going to be a season ender. And we just got to find a way to get a couple wins. We got to get a couple wins. I think 3 of our next 4 are at home. Maybe 4 of our next 6 are at home, something like that. We got to find a way to get a couple wins until we get a healthy Joe back.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's real quick. Let's just go through these stats quickly. I mean, the Bengals did rush for almost 140 yards tonight to the Baltimore's 157, and again, a lot of that 157 came the second half when they had the lead. But Joe Burrow, before he went down, on 11 of 17, 101 and a touchdown. Was sacked twice, had over 100 rating. I just felt like he was cooking. I felt like he was on that drive before he got hurt. Jake Browning finished 8 of 14, 68 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon, 16 carries for 69 yards. And again, Joe Burrow doesn't go down, Mon. I think we see a 100-yard game from Joe Mixon. I just feel like that's where the offense was going. Jake Browning did have 4 carries for 40 yards. Again, that came on that last drive. Tanner Hudson, 4 receptions for 49 yards. He is the leading receiver. Joe Mixon had 5 catches for 31 yards. Jamar Chase, only 2 catches for 12 yards and a touchdown. Again, this team struggled offensively once Joe Burrow went out. And again, like you said, Mon, the steam just kind of went out of the sails. 2 guys I want to talk about tonight that I saw absolutely flying around the football. One was Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle played really well tonight for the Bengals. I think it is now his spot. We saw on the play that Mark Andrews got hurt. We saw Nick Scott just completely fall down, miss a tackle, and then he was responsible for the 12th man on the field on defense. Almost cost the Bengals a possession there. Nick Scott, we didn't see Nick Scott very much after that. Jordan Battle comes in. He has 12 tackles tonight, Mon. He was all over the field. And, of course, Logan Wilson, a man amongst boys. To me, Mon, Logan Wilson looked like one of the best players on the field tonight. He had 10 tackles. Again, obviously injuries and that kind of stuff happened. There was nothing malicious there. But he was out thumping people tonight, and you could see Logan Wilson definitely took it personally, I think. So you love to see that from Logan, the way he played tonight, Mom. But overall, how do you think this defense played?
Well, I thought they looked good in the first half, and then obviously everything changed in the second half. Ravens went run heavy. Cam Taylor-Britt was out. B.J. Hill was out. Of course, Hubbard, we know, was out. I thought Hendrickson looked really good in the first half, really active. The Logan Wilson, some people insinuating, Ian Rappaport, even Herb Street said something. He's not a dirty football player. He's never been called a dirty football player. He played hard, legal hits. That hustle play on Odell Beckham. Odell I mean, what do you expect? You're not down. This guy, linebacker, 240 pounds, running 40 yards. He's going to hit you. He's going to hit you hard. And that's when they're like, oh, Logan Wilson. I hate those insinuations. He's not a dirty player. He's a good player. He's a good person, and he just plays hard. I'm sorry, when you were talking, I was on Twitter. I guess some people are saying that it's just a sprain for Joe's wrist. Apparently, it happened last week. I'm trying to get some clarity on that. But we'll see. Hopefully, this isn't a long issue, and we can come back healthy because we got 7 games to go. Got a lot of football. We just got to get into the playoffs. Let's not worry about winning the division right now. I think that's that's going to be a long shot. Let's get a wild card. That's what we got to do.
Agreed. And Serena, I agree with you. Serena says the announcers dumping on Logan Wilson. They're making snide comments, like you said, Mon. Snide comments about Logan Wilson, like he's out there. I think Ian Rappaport tweeted out, "You guys are better than that. You're better than that. Logan Wilson is a hell of a football player." Again, we're not going to go back to this whole Bengals thing. I see Aaron has joined in. We haven't seen Aaron in a while. That's not surprising from Aaron to jump in when his team wins. Just remember, Aaron, Lamar Jackson 1-3 in the playoffs. So let's talk about, Mon, how this looks now for the rest of this season. The Bengals sitting at 5-5. Obviously, a big game at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up on Sunday. They do get 10 days off? Well, not 10 days off, 10 days between games. So a little bit of a mini bye in there. Maybe some of these guys to get rested up and get healthy. Obviously, getting Sam Hubbard back would be huge. We need T. Higgins back as well. I mean, these are guys that this Bengals team needs to move forward and try to bring some positivity back. But they sit at 5-5. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. Then they have, again, a small little stretch there of AFC teams in the Steelers, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the Indianapolis Colts. So again, the season's not over, guys. The Bengals go on this 3-game run, and we're right back in this thing at 8-5, right?
Yeah, we the margin of error was already really slim. It's basically there's no more margin. We got to win some games. The AFC record is really going to hurt us. Obviously, if we run the table, we're in the playoffs. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we just need to do some scoreboard watching, and I hate that. But we need some teams around that have the similar records as us to start losing.
Yeah.
And actually, after last week, there were some teams out there that we're fighting with that did lose, so that did help us. But I'm going to be watching Sunday, and we got to root for some teams to lose. But just got to get Joe Burrow back. That's the key. Jake, if we can just find a way, I don't know how, but if we can find a way to get a healthy Joe Burrow into the playoffs, I'll take it. And I'll be optimistic. We know what he can do in the playoffs, and let's just get him healthy, and let's find a way to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, and scratch to win. Actually, the Bengals, not that it's much better, but they are 1-5 in the AFC. Remember, they did beat the Buffalo Bills, but I think scratch to win brings up a good point. Now, Mon, the Bengals at 1-5 in the AFC, they have got to reel off these next 3 games. They have got to win these next 3 games and get that AFC record somewhere back to where it's competitive. Because obviously after that, you got the Vikings, and then you got that next 3-game stretch of AFC games in the Steelers and the Chiefs and the Browns. Season is not over, but this Bengals team has got to pull it together. And Serena brings up a good point. Again, CTB goes down, Mom, with a quad. He was on the injury report already for this in the last couple of weeks. Cam Taylor-Britt, another guy the Bengals cannot afford to lose. You saw DJ Turner. He struggled a little bit tonight. But again, these injuries starting to pile up, and Cam Taylor-Britt, Sam Hubbard, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. these guys have got to get healthy quick, Mon.
They do. And we got 10 games to go before we play the Steelers. It's at home. James Rapine just tweeted a picture of Patrick Queen talking to Joe Burrow. Apparently, Joe Burrow said, we'll see what the MRI says. You know, man, I mean, he's walking around and he seems to be in good spirits out there. He was discouraged, but he doesn't look like somebody that's going to have a, season ender. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not more than a couple weeks. Hopefully the 10 days is enough so he can play against the Steelers. We said it 5,000 times on the Bengals Pulse, one game at a time. And Zac Taylor, you have got to find a way to win against the Steelers in 10 days.
You got to, right? Sacks real quick. Mike Hilton gets a sack. DJ Turner gets a sack. Trey Hendrickson gets his 9th sack. I think he's at 9.5 sacks now on the season. Trey Hendrickson, you got to give that guy some credit, man, some kudos. He goes out and plays his ass off, after hyperextending his knee. Some positives, Mon. Let's try to find some positives here if we can. I think the big positive, obviously, too, I mean, we didn't bring up Evan McPherson's missed field goal. That was a big miss, right? I mean, that's a difference maker. You can't leave points on the field against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. But the Bengals did not turn the ball over tonight. We saw no turnover. So that, if there's any positive here, it's that. But what I want to talk to you about real quick, Mon, is, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but the officiating in the NFL, has it just not got horrible to you? I want to talk about. I mean, obviously the pass interference calls. All the NFL media outlets said it was 2 of the worst pass interference calls they've ever seen. Kurt Herbstreit just talked nonstop about it being a phantom call. It was absolutely terrible calls tonight. But that Trenton Irwin catch, then that was not ruled a catch. I've seen that called a catch 100 times. I have no idea now, Mon, what a catch is in the NFL because these officials are so inconsistent. And at some point, Mon, don't they need to hold these guys accountable? Because it is just getting absolutely ridiculous. The NFL officiating right now is a clown show. You have the least penalized team in the Bengals. And what do we have? 11 penalties tonight? 11, 12 penalties? I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that pass interference that you're referencing was terrible. It didn't affect the outcome of the game, but it was absolutely terrible. And all the national guys are saying, how can you call it? It's an embarrassment. Jake, I know this will never happen, but Mon's way of fixing the officiating, start every NFL game at 12:30. Okay, I don't care if an NFL game lasts another 30, 40 minutes. Review every play. They do it in hockey. They do it in soccer. These plays have to be reviewed in New York. They have in technology. They have elite, eyes in the sky. Hey, man, that's a bad call. We only play 17 games in the NFL. It's not like Major League Baseball where it's 162 and you can make up a difference. If you have a call that truly affects a game, that could be everything in the NFL.
Yeah.
It really can. They need to. So what if it extends the game a little bit? What if it adds 30 minutes to a game? Sell some more TV commercials, man. Make more money. Get the call right. You have the ways, the technology to do it. Let New York say, hey, stop. That's wrong. You can't, you got to stop. Hold on. That's what they need to do. And it's not rocket science. And of course, I think they do hold officials accountable. Of course, us fans don't know this. We don't see it. You can see these guys. They don't get postseason playoff assignments. So you know that they've been graded poorly. So the NFL does hold them accountable. But I don't know. It sucks. Yeah, some of those calls were absolutely terrible. Looking on Twitter here, it looks like per Harbaugh, Mark Andrews is out for the year. That sucks for them. He's a hell of a football player.
Yes.
And you don't want any player, especially elite ones, you don't want any player out for the year. I feel bad for him. That sucks.
Yeah, I agree. Dustin, thank you so much, Dustin, for that super chat. We really appreciate it. I don't feel like I'm whining, Aaron, at all. I think this Bengals team got beat tonight by a lesser opponent, and it's frustrating. I don't think I'm whining. When you've won the division 2 years in a row and you've been to two straight AFC championships, then Aaron, I think you can talk. But until then, Aaron, just worry about the Baltimore Ravens. Mom, this game, very close statistic-wise, which is kind of crazy. I think the one disparaging stat is this third down efficiency. Obviously, the Bengals 2 of 11, not very good tonight. But again, we're dealing with a quarterback that's taken one snap in the NFL. But time of possession, 29 minutes for the Bengals, 30 minutes for the Ravens. So we're right there time possession wise. The rushing yards, again, 136 to 157. But again, where it mattered most is the Bengals could not put drives together, obviously, once Joe Burrow went down. And, injuries happen. This is the NFL. I think our biggest gripe is that the Bengals need to be better prepared when this happens. We talked about at the trade deadline even. The Bengals make no moves at all at the trade deadline. And now, we're having to throw guys in there that haven't taken a lot of NFL snaps. And this is a Super Bowl roster. And you've seen teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, when Carson Wentz goes down, they make a run and win the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. It can be done, but you have to have a guy with some experience, a guy that can come in and run an offense. You can't throw a guy in there that's never taken snaps before, right?
Yeah, listen. They rolled the dice. They felt like he was better than Simeon. Simeon had a horrible preseason. So Jake Browning is their guy, and listen, he impressed us in preseason this year and the year before. Gunslinger mentality. He has, he looked pretty good tonight, Jake. He did some good things. I guess what I'm trying to say, again, I'm going to repeat the question, and I want our fans and the people that watch this show, not trying to be negative, but when you have a great roster, a great team like ours that, has been the back-to-back AFC championship games, if you lose a quarterback on a high ankle sprain, I'm just throwing that out there for 3-4 games, is Jake Browning going to get us 2 wins, 3 wins? I think the Bengals, there's a lot of teams have great quarterbacks. I'm not saying great starters because they'd be starting for somebody else right now, but guys that have had multiple snaps in the NFL, that have had successes in the NFL, that can just get you through those few games. Yeah. We don't know if Jake Browning is that guy. He could be. I hope he is. But we're presenting that challenge now with Joe's wrist. Hopefully it's just a few games. Hopefully he'll play against Pittsburgh. So we're presented that right now. And I don't know, Jake. It's frustrating, man. I didn't expect us to be 5-5 at this point.
So,
no, I didn't either. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I just had to jump in and ask a question. I couldn't really get it in the chat here. So this kind of takes me back to the Andy Dalton thumb injury that we had in 2015. I know it's a different point in the season, but we had a backup in AJ McCarron that, yes, he was proven in college, but he hadn't thrown any NFL passes. So AJ McCarron is forced to come in at the end of our season when we're trying to make a playoff run. To me, this feels like our playoff run right now. So it's in the middle of the season, but how do you think this compares to AJ McCarron coming in and getting the job done? He didn't cost us that playoff game. He kept us in the hunt. Do we see that happening again with Jake Browning, or do we see AJ Mack stepping in and doing that again if Burrow's out 3 to 4 weeks?
It's a good question. I mean, that was a pretty similar circumstance. The 2015 roster was special. They had 3 potential Hall of Famers on that team. McCarron came in. I think he went 2-2, if I'm not mistaken. He played pretty well. Yeah, I mean, listen, I hope Jake Browning can come in and do that. I hope he can. But again, Eric, Jake, we don't know what's going on yet. If this is a 1 week, 2 week, 3 week thing, it's going to be Jake Browning. That's the guy. He knows Zac Taylor's offense. He's been in the system for years. That's going to be the guy we're gonna hand the keys to, and I'm rooting for him. I know at the beginning of the show I wasn't very complimentary of him. People have receipts of Maan saying that stuff. Hey man, present them to me because I'll gladly say thank you. I'm glad to be wrong.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think too, when you look at that 2015 team, that was a Bengals team that was pretty much already at that point in a good situation to make the playoffs, right? I mean, you're talking about, the last 4 games of the season. It is very comparable, but this is, right now we're in, we're out of the playoff race right now. We need a guy that can come in and lead us back into it. And really, again, if it's my call, Eric and Maan, I'm putting AJ McCarron in there because I feel like AJ McCarron has been there and done that. I mean, the guy has played a lot of football. And again, I'm not harping on Jake Browning, but that's just facts, right? I mean, that is the way it is AJ McCarron. AJ McCarron has played in the playoffs. He started in the NFL playoffs. So if it's up to me, it's AJ McCarron.
Jake, you did bring up a good point about that. The big difference is this: we started that season 8-0, and we were fighting for a number 1 seed. We were a really good football team. The battles we have about 2005, 2015. That 2015 team is going to go down as one of the best Bengal teams of all time. They were so loaded.
They were
3 potential Hall of Famers on that team. And AJ McCarron came in and he did well. He did really well. Different circumstances though, because right now we're in the fight for our life, and don't know how it's going to shake out.
I know we were all very critical early on of Zac Taylor not changing the playbook, not changing it with an immobile Joe. And to me, if Joe's out for 3 to 4 weeks, he has to change his playbook. We see how mobile Jake Browning is. We got to see some rollouts. We got to move that pocket. We got to utilize his ability to get out. We saw this in the preseason. We kind of saw it again tonight. He's mobile, but he doesn't have that pocket awareness that Joe does, where you see him step up, but he can't step up and find that lane to take off. So to me, if it's Jake Browning, we got to see some pocket movement. We got to see some rollouts, do some of those play action stretches like we saw CJ Stroud eat us up with last week. That's how you succeed with Jake Browning. And if you're not going to do that, Jake Browning's not going to be Joe Burrow. You can't have the same offense. So if you're not going to do that, then hand the ball to Joe Mixon and just let him get what he can get as much as possible.
Well,
they're going to have. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say AJ McCarron. He's got a little bit of swag to him, right? I mean, he's got a little bit of that confidence, a little bit of that ego, something you got to have as a quarterback. I don't think Jake Browning's been around long enough to have that ego, to have that swag, to have that confidence. And again, I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing Jake Browning because I'm not. The guy just doesn't have any experience. And we could be this could be non-boy. I mean, if it is a sprained wrist, we could see Joe Burrow back at the helm next Sunday. So this could be just talking potential of what could happen. But I think no matter what, the point of this conversation is the Bengals have got to do a better job of making sure there is somebody back there that can take snaps and just be average, right? Just not turn the ball over. I've been trying to think of what was that Eagles quarterback that led them to the Super Bowl? What was his name? Foley?
Nick Foles. Nick Foles.
I was going to say Ron Jaworski.
Nick Foles, I mean, you look at what he did. He didn't put up big numbers. He came in. He didn't turn the ball over. He ran the offense efficiently, and he won the Eagles a Super Bowl and ended up taking Carson Wentz's job in the process. So the Bengals have just got to find a guy that can do that, can come in, take snaps, and run the offense efficiently.
Teams are going to blitz. They're going to make him make bad decisions, try to get him to throw interceptions. My biggest issue with Jake Browning is He doesn't have an arm. He doesn't have a major league arm. He doesn't. He's athletic. You saw him moving around.
Yeah.
It's again, last time I'm going to talk about Jake Browning, man. I want him to be good. I want him to make me look like an idiot. I want him to make me look like an idiot because a lot of people out there probably think I'm an idiot. I want to say something real quick. Harbaugh's on Twitter right now saying that the tackle by Logan Wilson wasn't necessary on Mark Andrews. So, hey, man, I tell you what, Coach Harbaugh, we're just going to let Mark Andrews score next time he catches the ball.
What a clown.
Catch it. Just go in and score. It wasn't a dirty play. What do you expect
Listen.
the guy to do? Logan Wilson's not a dirty player, man.
Listen.
And I don't want Mark Andrews hurting. But, hey, next time Mark Andrews catches the ball, hey, man, just let him score. We don't want to tackle him. Come on.
Listen, Mon, you know the Harbaughs are the biggest clown show of a family. They are all clowns. The entire Harbaugh family is a bunch of clowns. They're all crybabies. Obviously, the one at Michigan, he needs to focus on what he's doing in college. His brother is a clown. I mean, they are the biggest bunch of crybabies you will ever see coach any team, professional, college, whatever the case may be. Don't give that guy any. Don't even say his name. He's not even worth the breath of us wasting our time talking about him. I do think though it is very important that the Bengals they've got to find a way to put this thing together. Defensively, they have struggled the last 2 weeks. I thought they played well the first half tonight, but again, you know, like Dustin was saying, we saw a lot of missed tackles the second half. That's becoming an issue. And again, part of it might just be that, you know, the steam was out. And if that's the case, shame on them for doing that. But this team as a whole, they've got to stick together. And I think they will. This is a strong locker room. And I think no matter what happens, I don't think the season's over. I just don't see that happening. I think this roster is too good. And, you know, you can call me a homer if you want to. I just think this roster is too good to throw in the towel on this football team.
Yeah, I think so too. It just depends on. We got to find out what's going on with Joe. There's just like I said a few minutes ago, we just got to get into the playoffs. Hopefully, we can find a way to get in with a healthy Joe Burrow. The gentleman here, Dustin, buddy, I agree with you on this one. Joe gets hit a lot, and I think sometimes that can take a toll. It's not always the sacks, but he gets popped a lot. Maybe he holds on the ball a little long, trying to have some plays develop. You know, when this season does end, Jake, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about our roster and improving it. And I already have a lot of notes to talk about. I got a lot of notes. I got things ready to go. I don't want to talk about them now because it's a little premature, but we'll see.
Serena, I agree with you, Serena, 100%. We got to focus on the Steelers, right? I mean, let's not forget this team, all these people trolling us here. This team was 5-4, won the AFC Championship, went to the Super Bowl. Last year, they were 5-4. They went to the AFC Championship. This year, 5-4. They lose to the Ravens, but now sitting at 5-5. This team is not out of it yet. They have faced this situation before. And if anyone can dig themselves out of a hole, it's this team. Mon, Eric, you know how you know that the Bengals are an elite football team? When everyone hates you, right? We saw it with the Patriots. We saw it for the Patriots. And I was one of those people. You hate teams. It's like they say, you hate us because you ain't us. So, you know, a lot of this hate that we're seeing is all these people excited going on Twitter. Yes, isn't it great watching the Bengals downfall? By the way, clowns, the Bengals were 5-4 the last 2 years and played an AFC Championship game. So pump your brakes a little bit on that one.
So let's this question for you guys. We're looking at the next 4-game stretch. We've got Steelers in 10 days, followed by the Jaguars on Monday Night Football, followed by the Colts and the Vikings. We have to win 3 of those next 4. But even if we do that, we're coming out of that stretch 8-8. So
if we win 3, we'll be 8-6.
Okay, so coming out of the stretch 8-6, is that going to be enough? Because then we're going to have to go and beat some really good teams coming down the stretch. Can we handle that if Joe Burrow's out for 75% of those games?
I think 10 wins might not be enough, but we have to get to at least 10. 10 might not be enough in the AFC. I think 11 is a lock, but 10 is a number we need to get to, and I think we may be 60, 70% chance of getting in there. I want to say something real quick. Great question, Eric. Cincinnati Bengals, Zac Taylor, anybody in the organization, if they watch the Bengals Pulse, you better stick up for Logan Wilson tomorrow because he's catching a lot of hell on social media from the Ravens and that head coach. You guys better stick up for your player.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Jay Will. What I was saying is they were 5-4 in 21. They were 5-4 in 22. This year they're 5-5. So again, I just want to make sure we clear that up. But yes, again, with the Logan Wilson thing, the dude is a hell of a football player. Any one of those people talking trash about Logan Wilson would take him on their team in a heartbeat, just like they would have done the same for Vontaze Burfict. Vontaze Burfict caught all of that hell for those years. And yes, he played overly aggressive, but if he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens, he'd have been worshipped. So again, pump the brakes on this whole dirty Logan Wilson being a dirty football player. Those were very normal tackles. Again, Lamar Jackson, instead of running around all the time trying to do too much, why don't you get out of bounds like other quarterbacks do, and you don't have to worry about getting tackled in bounds on a legit play.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to. I'm just caught up with this Logan Wilson stuff on social media right now. Trying to figure out what Roquan Smith said after the game or something. Clown talk.
No, he's a clown.
Yeah, listen, it's time to move on. Aaron, man, hey man, enjoy your victory lap, Aaron. Enjoy it, buddy. You guys are in first place. You're going to win the AFC North. Hopefully, you can do something in the playoffs because your quarterback hasn't been able to. Enjoy the victory lap. Hopefully, we get to see you guys again. I know, guys. I'm officially over the Texans' loss now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I went on Spaces today, and I've really had a hard time with the Texans game. I've struggled the whole week.
Yeah,
and it's one of the worst regular season losses in my Bengal fandom. It really is. And I'm an old guy that's watched a lot of Bengal football, but that one stands out to me.
Did I ever say that 5-5 is elite? I didn't say 5-5 is elite record, right? I don't think I did. No. I agree with you, Maan. And I want to ask this before we get off here real quick. Do you really think I don't want to envision this, but, and again, I was the first one to say Tyler Boyd did not lose us the Texans game. I want to be very clear about that. Tyler Boyd did not lose that game for us. But that Tyler Boyd drop, I'm hoping is not a downward spiral for this football team. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I mean, I would hate for us to have to look back on it as that being a defining moment because Tyler Boyd has been such a great player for this team for so many years. Even the years that we were very thin. And what was that team that he walked off on when it was fourth down and 4? I can't remember. Knocked them out of the playoffs. It was at their place. Andy Dalton was a quarterback. Aaron, maybe you can remember who that is, Aaron. Oh, I think we remember who that was, the Ratbirds. But Tyler Boyd was been such a great player for this football team, and I would hate for him to get that stigma. So I'm really hoping that this team pulls this thing out and turns it around quickly because, this is a very good roster, and it is still an elite roster. Again, I don't care what anybody says. It is an elite roster, and, the season's not over yet. It's not.
Yeah, it's Jake. It's going to be an uphill climb, but it's not over. 7 games, a lot to play. Margin of error is really slim. The 1-5 record in the AFC is really, really going to hurt us, and we got to do some scoreboard watching. That's what we got to do, and hopefully Joe comes back really quick.
And one of the big things is there's a certain reporter out there with her types of clickbaiting type stories out there saying that
Yeah.
lip reading Joe Burrow thought she saw that he said he broke something. So just everybody out there, don't fall for that clickbait. We'll all wait patiently to hear the actual results before we go off and start talking the draft. But this is why we did a whole episode, I think, on can the Bengals survive if Joe Burrow's out for a couple weeks. So here we are. We're ready to see him prove it.
I
Yeah.
love these comments, man. They're great. They are so great. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this is the time, Eric. This is a time for this football team to prove it. I mean, they have to, right? They absolutely have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want on Twitter and, just we're rambling here about this. I want to know why Logan Wilson should get suspended. Tom, is his name Tom? Tom, why should Logan Wilson be suspended? I mean, let's keep on talking. Let's see what you say. I want you to give me a reason why. What was dirty about the tackle? Seriously, look. I don't want Mark Andrews. To me, is the best tight end in football. He's better than Kelsey. I don't want him injured. I don't want any good player, any player, period, injured. I don't want that. But that wasn't a dirty play. That was not a dirty play.
Well, we'll see if Tom gets back. We'll see if Tom gets back on here. And what does he say? Wilson. Oh, and he's just repeating himself. He can't put together a sentence, so he's just repeating himself. Zay, you cracked me up, bud. You cracked me up. Guys, we have a little bit of time off here for this next Bengals game, and again, really, besides scoreboard watching this weekend, I think the injury reports are going to be something that we're going to be watching very closely because this Bengals team is pretty beat up right now. My last question to you guys is this. Thursday night football has been an issue. And we've heard this talked about for the last couple years. We've seen a lot of injuries because of the short turnaround. Do you guys feel like Thursday night football is dangerous to these players?
I don't. That's been a debate for a while. Short turnaround. I get both sides. I guess what I'm trying to say, Jake, it's never going away. The NFL is making billions from Amazon. NFL owners are making so much money. It's not going away. It's not.
I mean,
I don't think the players like it, but I don't know.
And we talk Thursday night football, but they've been playing Thursday football for how many years have the Lions and Cowboys played Thursdays? Every year every year they played on Thanksgiving. I know now we have a lot more games, but we haven't. It hasn't been injuries galore occurring on there. It's a short week. You have a few things happen, but I just don't think there's any evidence out there that most injuries come on Thursday nights or come on that short week. I don't like it. I don't want to play on them anymore, but I don't think the NFL will listen to me.
I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna say this, and that is adding another game to this schedule and doing the schedule the way it is now. I think Thursday football is becoming a hindrance to these players. I really do, and I think it's something that in the offseason they'll probably take a look at. I really do. I think they will take a look at it and see if this is. I don't have stats in front of me. But I know that there's been a lot of injuries on Thursday night football, and a lot of it is from teams that are having to do that quick turnaround from a Sunday to a Thursday.
Jake, you know what? Andrew Whitworth was asked this question with Dan Horde in his podcast, and he says he doesn't mind playing on Thursday night football. He says that. You're a little sore because, but you're practicing hard on Thursdays anyway. Let's just play a game. They look forward to the 10 days off. It's like a mini bye for them. I don't know. I'm just getting caught up in these Twitter battles over here. I just turned Twitter off. I just can't listen to it, man. It's just I can't believe how they're attacking Logan Wilson. And apparently, you know how they have the setup on Thursday Night Football. Apparently, a lot of Raven fans were saying, F Joe Burrow, and saying all kinds of stuff during that. And how classy is that? What a classy group that is.
Well, we all know that's a classless organization, anyways. But let's talk about real quick. I want to get both of you guys tell me who you root for. Who is more dangerous to the Bengals? Is it the Browns or the Steelers? Who are you guys rooting for on Sunday? Who would you like to see win? Who would you like to see win? Let me say that.
I'd like to see the Browns win. But I don't think they are. I think the Steelers are going to beat them because it's at home. I'm just giving the Steelers the advantage at home. And the Ravens are going to run away with the division. We just need, honestly, we need the Steelers to lose. We play them 2 more times, so we could sort of manage that. If the Steelers do beat the Browns, that might sort of push them aside a little bit. I don't know, Jake. I don't know. I hate scoreboard watching. I absolutely hate it, but we have to do it.
Oh, we do have to do it. What about you, Eric? Who are you pulling for?
I can't pull for either. So I'll pull for that game to be tied, or maybe there's a blizzard and it can't be played and they don't reschedule it and it comes down to a coin flip. I can't root for either team. Sorry. So maybe Bane will show up and take care of it for us. That's all I can root for.
Hey, so Roquan Smith was asked about Joe Burrow's injury, and Roquan Smith said, when you play the Ravens defense, sometimes those things happen. Could you imagine if Logan Wilson said that? All the Raven trolls, seriously, don't be selective with your outrage. Don't have selective outrage. Think about what Roquan Smith just said. Well, think about that. I mean, come on, guys, don't be that way. Come on, Tom, don't be selective.
How could you take credit for that? How could you even take credit for that injury? He threw the ball and screamed. Nobody touched him. And that's what's scary to me. It takes you back to those Carson Palmer injury. That's what has me the most nervous.
No.
Yeah. All right, Dustin, you're right.
Dustin, thanks again, Dustin, for that super chat. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining in. Even you guys that are trolling, Zay, all you guys, we still love you. We appreciate all of you guys joining us tonight. And hopefully, I am so hopeful, Maan, that we get to see this team one more time because we all know how that ended last year when we had to play them 3 times. I really hope we get a chance to see this football team again, this Baltimore Ravens team again, with a healthy football team, and then we'll see who wins.
You're right, Jake. I would like to see him again too. Unless I just want to say something to our Bengal fans. We're classy. If there's any Bengal fans out there celebrating injuries of Raven players, don't be those guys. Don't be like them. We don't want players to get hurt. And I tell you what, I said it. Mark Andrews to me is the best tight end in football. Don't be like those guys. Let's be classy.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy a big weekend of football. If we don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to all of you, all of our listeners. Again, thank you guys so much for all the love and support. Again, even the ones trolling, we love you guys too. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your families. And Maan, Eric, we need to take these next couple days to decompress. It's been a rough 2 games here. Let's decompress ourselves and get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right?
That's right. We will. Hopefully we get some good news next couple days.
Hopefully we do. Again, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Once again, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. Make sure you follow Maan on Twitter at @TheFireMaan. Follow me on Twitter at Coach Jake Owens 9. Follow Eric on Twitter at eFlash with 2 H's, 88. Follow the Wincinnati Pod at Wincinnati Pod, and follow the Bengals Pulse at Bengals_Pulse 9, all on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, the same without the @ Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us that 5-star review. We very much appreciate that. Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Bengal fans, it's going to be okay. Take a breath. It's been a rough 2 games. Joe Burrow's going to be okay. Nothing but positive thoughts. We're going to turn this thing around. He is Maan. He is Eric. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo day, Bengal fans. Happy Thanksgiving. We will talk to you soon.